What's going on everybody, DiGi Valentine here right about now. I couldn't decide what to make my next top 5 video about, so I put it to a poll and my patrons came through with a landslide vote. They wanted to know what my top 5 levels from Sonic Adventure 1 were, so we're doing that. And what can be said about Sonic Adventure itself? I mean, when the collision detection works,
aha!
When the camera works,
Yeah!
when the homing attack works,
What?
when the game itself actually works. Sonic Adventure is a good game. And you know what? Even when it doesn't work, I still enjoy playing it. I'm guaranteed to get some fun out of the game either way, whether it's an intended set piece that was designed to wow me, or it's a bug in which some unintended hilarity ensues. It might be why that despite any problems Sonic Adventure has, I keep coming back to it. You're guaranteed to have something to talk about regardless of what happens. When it comes to choosing my top 5 levels from Sonic Adventure, I wanted to put a particular specific requirement in place this time. I wasn't just looking for levels that appeal to me visually. Across the selectable cast, some characters share levels but they play vastly different from each other. In order to decide what levels would be in my top 5, I wanted to also take into consideration how fun the level was when playing with all the available characters for that level. I figured this would spice things up a bit and give me more of a challenge when deciding what order I'd place these levels in. And we're going to find out what those levels are in a short second, but before we do that, I'd like to send a huge shout out to Salem for supporting me on Patreon. It's hugely appreciated, man. Thank you so much. And not just for backing me, but for also providing your own personal thoughts on Sonic Adventure. I really enjoyed reading your own personal insight into the game. Thanks for sharing that. And if you would also like to join in and be a part of everything that we're building here, please check the link to my Patreon page in the video description. Every single bit of support is greatly appreciated. Safe. Alright, here we go then. Let's see what other level names I can butcher this time. Here are my top 5 levels from Sonic Adventure 1. Casinoopolis. Casinoopolis? Yo, we're off to a great start. Is it Casinoopolis or Casinopolis? But Casinopolis sounds weird though. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it Casino, yeah? Alright, cool. I'll be the first to admit that if you play this level as intended with Sonic, and not glitch out of bounds to clear the stage in like 3 seconds, then it can be a bit of a long one. Sonic's take on this level sees him entering pinball machines to earn rings, which he then must deposit into a bank, which allows him to reach the goal on the upper platform. The back and forth aspect can make this level a drag if you suck at the pinball machines, but aside from that, I actually really appreciate this level, including the part where you, for some reason, get a specific animation of Sonic having a shower if you go into the shower room, and Tails just stands there and watches you while you wash your bits. Tails, you're a pervert. Yeah, have some tact. Come on, bruv. Not even I'm that bad. I'm actually that bad. As I said, playing as Sonic means you get to enter 2 types of pinball table. One is Sonic themed and has a ridiculously snazzy theme song for it. But the other table is my personal favourite though, which is themed on Nights into Dreams, a game which I'm a huge fan of. On the Dreamcast, this was one of the major cameos we got of Nights, and it gave us insight into how the character would look in a Dreamcast game. Unfortunately, the Dreamcast died an early death, so any chances at a sequel for Nights on that console were shelved. But this casino level gave me an idea of what it could have looked like, and I loved it. I spent so many hours playing the Nights pinball table just so I could get to the highest sections of the stage and see Spring Valley and Twin Seeds in all its 128-bit Dreamcast glory. It has to be said though, the physics for Sonic when he's rolling around as the pinball are pretty terrible. Half the time he ends up going in the directions that I don't want him to go in, and screwing up a pinball table will drop you into the lower section of the level if you didn't collect enough rings. The trash pipes, as I'd like to call them. I never really liked this place that much when playing as Sonic. I mean, it was okay, but when it was a bad day, you'd have a really bad day down here, you know what I'm saying? However, play as Tails, and this part is a breeze since you can just pretty much avoid all the traps by flying over them. It's worth mentioning that Tails' versions of the levels are shorter versions of Sonic's, in which you race the hedgehog to the finish line. I tend to find the trash pipes section a lot more fun when there's a race involved, as it gives me more urgency to get through it quickly by utilising Tails' skill set. It's actually really kind of fun when playing as Tails. Knuckles also has a stage situated within the casino, and in true Knuckles fashion, his levels play more like small sandbox stages where you search for pieces of the Master Emerald. And can I just go on record by saying that I actually like Knuckles' stages? I know some people tend to find them a bit of a chore, but I like how it takes a familiar level and opens it out. It gives you a chance to explore the stage at a slower pace and enjoy all the little details that you'd probably miss when gunning past with one of the other characters. Knuckles' version of the casino expands the level higher towards the ceiling, giving you access to a whole new floor that the other characters can't get to. Up here you have a pirate ship, a giant lion statue, some narrow walkways and platforms that offer cool views of the level below you. It was really nice to explore this upper section as Knuckles. Back in the day, I personally spent tons of hours farming animals in this stage. I think I was trying to create a specific chow or something and I needed the animals from this particular level. I just remember playing it over and over and over again, and I really ended up enjoying it as a result. Red Mountain. Red Mountain takes the whole volcano concept from Sonic & Knuckles but opens it outwards. You're not just confined to the mouth of the volcano now, you get the entire mountain range outside of it. When playing as Sonic, the flow of the level reflects this by having you traverse the level upwards as you clear one hill and then downwards towards the start of the next section of the valley. I always appreciate this up and down progression through the level. The higher sections tend to reward you with catching some big air, either via a spring or a rocket pad, and I love those brief freefall moments when you're coming back down. It was beautifully exhilarating. Then, after clearing a small cluster of these hills, you enter inside a volcano where the heaviest bassline suddenly punches you in the bum for no reason. My goodness, what a stanky ass bassline, yeah? That's the kind of bassline you don't introduce to your parents. That bassline was the bastard at the back of the class drawing dicks all over the tables, yeah? That was him. That bassline made your auntie pregnant when your uncle wasn't looking. It's bloody grimy, bruv. While making this video, I found out that this song actually sampled an old hip-hop remix of a track called Ghetto Red Hot by Supercat. It seems Jun Senoue wanted to pay further homage to the original source tune because when he produced this rhythm for Sonic Adventure, he named it Red Hot Skull. Red Mountain also gives Knuckles' exploration a run for its money. Although you don't get to go inside the volcano, a huge portion of the mountain range is open for Knuckles to explore. I believe this level was the precursor for what would become Pumpkin Hill in Sonic Adventure 2. There's something truly breathtaking about placing Knuckles in a mountain range and just letting him run wild in it. You get a real sense of freedom thanks in part to his gliding and climbing abilities. Travelling from one hilltop to the next felt adventurous and daring. I enjoyed it so much. Red Mountain also has a E102 Gamma stage, which sees the robot traverse through a portion of the volcano section only, and even though this portion is mostly made up of parts from Sonic's volcano route, I love playing it more as Gamma. Blasting your way through hordes of badniks while that tune plays in the background is superbly fitting for the mood. It's such a wicked variation of the level. I love playing it as Gamma. Speed Highway. Yes bruv, now we're talking. You already know from my previous videos that I love city zones with skyscrapers littering the background. Speed Highway doesn't just give me that design aspect, it gives me one high-powered, adrenaline-fueled rollercoaster ride right through the bloody thing. This level is awesome. The music is another one of those instances where it just matches the mood of the level perfectly. I think we've figured out that I'm a sucker for a good bassline, and the one in Speed Highway just goes in. It pulsates in a way to keep you pumped up and ready to run forwards. I also really appreciate the way that the bassline notes themselves drop down one after another, following a sort of going down the stairs progression. It fits in perfectly with a level that sees you running headfirst down steep roadways and even the side of buildings. Speaking of which, let's talk about how awesome it is to see Sonic running on the side of a building, because when I saw this as a kid, I believe we had reached the apex, yeah? It was never going to get better than this. Sonic is running down the side of a skyscraper looking like a badass while he does it. And then he smashes through tons of glass like some last action hero, yeah? This hedgehog is a bloody menace. I love him. I also appreciate how the level winds down for the last part, showing the city during the early morning hours. In some possibly unintentional contrast, Sonic himself travels through this section of the level at a much slower pace now, and instead, all the commuters who are driving to work are the ones in a hurry. Tails also shares a portion of this stage, though instead of racing Sonic to a finish line, he's instead trying to beat Robotnik to a bomb that he wants to activate, and if that isn't a peak reason to race someone to the end of a stage, then I don't know what is. I also love how Tails approaches this level. Again, with his flying ability, he can cover so much more ground and even reach places that Sonic doesn't get to run through. It's a pretty awesome take on a level that we've already played. Knuckles also shares this stage, though unlike the other levels, Knuckles is somewhat restricted in the area that he can explore here, placing him entirely within the small early morning section only. Technically speaking, this is Knuckles' first zone in his level order. As such, it's designed to ease you into how the exploration aspect of his gameplay works. It makes sense to place it within a small area first and open it out to wider spaces like Red Mountain later on. I mean, it's not a bad version of Speed Highway. I mean, it does what it does and I enjoy it a fair bit, but personally, I would have loved to have had access to the first section with him too. Like, imagine being able to glide and climb your way between the towering skyscrapers in that first section. That would have been wicked. Emerald Coast. So, aside from cool looking cityscape levels, you want to know what other types of levels I really appreciate? Beaches. White, sandy beaches with sparkling ocean views, blue skies and green trees. I love that setting. And it's weird to consider how long it took for Sonic Team to actually put a beach level in a mainline Sonic game. Up until this point, it was mostly fields or hills, with the ocean being in the far distance. Angel Island Zone could have been a beach level, but ended up taking the Hedgehog further inland to where the jungle was instead. And if we're counting Sonic R, then I guess Resort Island could be considered a beach level, though it functions more as a desert island in its entirety rather than purely focusing on the beach aspect. Emerald Coast was truly the first of its kind in a mainline Sonic game. That might be why I remember it so fondly. Tearing through the sandy coast while playing as Sonic looked incredible back in the day. Honestly, I still think it holds up by my standards. If I want to have a quick run through a level, then Emerald Coast is a good zone to pick. It flows well, it offers a lot of high speed sections and some great set pieces. It's not too challenging either. I think as far as 3D Sonic games go, Emerald Coast was a brilliant opening level to ease players into what a 3D Sonic game was like back then. Sure, it absolutely has its fair share of glitches, I mean the whole game has, but for what Emerald Coast did as a starting level in terms of design and execution, really worked. Gamma's also back with his own version of the level too, and I love it as well. There's something satisfying about taking this peaceful, serene location and then running a gun-toting robot through the bloody thing, licking off shots at deck chairs. It's thunder in paradise out here, fam. I'm personally not too fond of the songs for Emerald Coast though. I mean, they're fitting for the stage, but I would have preferred something a little more flavoured and spicy, but that's just me. And as much as I like Emerald Coast, there's one teeny tiny small little thing that stops it from taking the #1 spot. Do you want to know what that is? Big the Bomber Clark Cat. Look, I'm sorry, yeah, if you like the character, then cool, yeah, that's absolutely cool. I don't even mind him anymore, right? He's a bloody meme now anyway, and everybody loves a good meme, so, you know, run that for all it's worth if you want to, do your thing. But his levels still play like absolute trash, and I have absolute zero fun playing as him. If another character had been given a level in Emerald Coast, say Amy or Knuckles just to offer some variety, then this zone would have absolutely been my #1. But it isn't. And you can blame Big the Bloody Cat for that. Windy Valley. This might be considered as a strange one to put in the #1 spot. I think a lot of people appreciate Windy Valley, but I don't think you'd see too many people place it as their favourite out of all the other levels. And honestly, in some regards, I'm going to agree with that too. I mean, as far as design goes, there's not that much to look at here. It's just some floating islands high in the clouds. It's alright, but I personally wouldn't call it breathtaking. It's just nice. As for the music, yeah, it's okay. It's nothing that gets me eager to blast through with Sonic speed, but it's certainly not offending my ears either. It's just okay. I normally wouldn't have put Windy Valley as my top spot. It might have gone to Speed Highway or Emerald Coast instead. But after thinking about it, there's something Windy Valley does in its entirety that I feel no other level from Sonic Adventure 1 does for me personally. And that is, it plays perfectly across all the available characters for it. Sonic, Tails, and Gamma each have variations of Windy Valley, and I can play any one of them and have an absolute amazing time doing so. With Sonic, you're eased into certain elements about the level. Platform placements are made obvious so you can find alternative routes easier. You're taught about running on air and keeping up your speed when doing so. I mean, there is a pit of death below you as well, but as long as you play smartly, that won't ever be an issue. The first part flows really smoothly by doing all this. Then, just to rock the boat a little bit and see if you're paying attention, they throw a flipping tornado at you and practically ask you to escape it. I mean, most people tend to prefer the Orca moment in Emerald Coast as a big set piece, but I lean more towards the tornado. With the Orca, you're not really in control. You're just hitting speed boosters on the ground and the section pretty much autoplays. But with the tornado, you get dragged right into the eye of the storm and you have to physically play the section by jumping to higher platforms in your effort to escape. I thought that was awesome as a kid, and I still hold the moment in high regard today. You are playing as Sonic the Hedgehog while trying to escape a tornado. It's a tagline that sells itself. And when you do escape the tornado, you're treated to one of my favourite high speed sections in the whole game. It's all downhill, it's booster pads on long straights allowing you to pick up speed and have some fun stretching your legs. It really opened out and rewarded you for everything you went through in those first 2 sections. I especially like the little things about this level too, like being able to jump off the main path and land on these small isolated islands themselves. You're not really supposed to be up on there, but the fact that they're solid and the fact that you can land on them always made me feel like I was exploring outside of the box. It was like going out of bounds without really going out of bounds. I just appreciated the little bit of freedom they gave us here. Tails' version takes place on the final section and is a race with Sonic. Standard stuff as expected, only Windy Valley completely plays into Tails' favour, and if you know what you're doing, you're in for a wicked time. The whole level progresses downwards, so if you start flying as Tails right from the get-go and just never press the button to boost your height, you will slowly descend with the level as you go. Furthermore, if you know the level layout by hand, then you can pretty much cheese the entire level in one jump. Your feet won't even touch the ground until you reach the end. I remember when I first figured this out as a kid, I was having a field day. I was running Windy Valley as Tails a million times just to see if I could try to optimize the route. It felt like I was yet again exploring a level that wasn't designed to be explored, but the fact that I was allowed to do so made the level more fun to play through. And finally, Gamma has a version of Windy Valley too, but it takes place during the first section. As such, there are no high speed moments to be had here, but the destruction you can cause is crazy. You have these giant flying worm badniks that have multiple targetable parts to their structure, you have floating platforms and bridges that can all be destroyed too. It's just a lot of fun just shooting the shit out of everything. Let me tell you, when playing as Gamma, nothing feels more badass than targeting multiple badniks at once and licking off shots while you hover over a gap between 2 floating platforms. Windy Valley lets me do that and I love it for it. I really enjoy playing this level with all the characters available for it. It always feels fun to me. It doesn't have the aesthetic that I gravitate towards the most, it doesn't have a tune that I think is an absolute banger, but it certainly keeps me coming back time and again to run through it, and that's why it's getting my top spot for this list. And yeah man, that was my top 5 favourite levels from Sonic Adventure 1, I hope you enjoyed it. I don't really have any levels for honourable mentions this time, but I do have something regarding Sonic Adventure that I want to shout out, and that is Amy Rose's levels in general. People are going to think that I'm taking the piss here or something, but I'm not. I actually quite enjoyed playing her levels. I mean yeah, they were absolutely slow as hell because Amy can't run up an incline for shit, but I don't know. It felt like a nice change of pace. You play as a character that can't run very fast while she's constantly being hunted by a robot that moves triple the speed she does. I don't know about you, and again I recognise that I'm the minority here, but it completely changes the flow of a level when you're playing as Amy. You have the odds stacked against you, and part of the adrenaline you get is not from hitting a sick set piece, but just narrowly managing to escape being captured. Granted, she could have controlled a little less stiff, yeah, I agree with that, but for what it's worth, Amy Rose's levels are some levels I genuinely look forward to playing. She doesn't have any levels contained within the zones that I have selected for this list though, but I enjoy playing her types of levels, so she's getting a shout out in general. And she's one of my favourite Sonic characters too, but if you're a regular here then you probably already knew that. Before I bounce out, I'd like to ask everybody to throw me a like if you are feeling the vid, and if you're new around these ends, please subscribe and stick around. I also want to send a huge shout out to all the patrons backing me on Patreon right about now. Their support is slowly making a difference, but we still have a ways to go until I've hit my goal. So if you want to be a part of what I'm doing, please consider backing me on Patreon too. Links are in the video description, and all help is greatly appreciated, trust me. And outside of YouTube, you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram too, if you're into those sort of things. I've been DiGi Valentine, thanks for your time, take care, and I'll see you all again real soon. And yeah, if they don't know about me, let them know. Safe.